Thanks for your company. The details now. The Chief of Army Staff, Major General Opong Prepra, has apologized to the people of the Upper West region for Thursday's brutalities meted out to some civilians. Leading a 5-member delegation to the region, the Major says the command acknowledges the important role members of the region play in the discharge of their duties there. He's thus assured culprits will be severely dealt with. Some soldiers numbering about 50 from the 10 Mechanized Battalion went on rampage, brutalizing people on the streets of Wa. The incident is suspected to have been triggered by the stealing of a mobile phone belonging to one of them. Dozens of people in the municipality were whipped and pushed into the gutter. 12 people were injured. 2 of them have been admitted at the Wa Municipal Hospital. Joy News Upper West correspondent Rafiq Salam reports from Wa.
All of us by surprise last night for us to see a video of people in military uniforms, on the streets of Wa and challenging civilians here and there. And after thorough investigations, we got to know that they were soldiers from the very unit that we have set up over here to protect civilians. So without wasting time at all, the military high command met and the decision was taken immediately for me to come here, first of all, to apologize for whatever happened and to tell you that all those involved in this act will be brought to book. They are subject to the military code of service discipline and we will apply the appropriate sanctions. And then again, I want to reassure you that we wouldn't let this singular occurrence mar our relationship at all. The plethora of challenges that we are facing and now, especially with the asymmetric threats that are emerging, they all call for collaborative effort, community involvement in fighting these threats. We need each other.
So you heard the voice of Major Opong Prepra. Well, after this, he had a meeting with the regional minister for the area, and we also know that they met with the WANA on this particular incident. Well, the Interior Minister and the MP for the area have also been speaking with Joy News.
What is the basis for that? Because you have a judge of the Court of Appeal. You have Vladimir Anchidanso, who is known in this country as one of the best.
It was bizarre. It was unacceptable. There was a situation nobody can explain, that people would be on their streets walking peaceful from work to work and were confronted, accosted and beaten up by ravaging soldiers. Their rights abused, some kicked, some beaten, thrown in gutters, and completely devastated. And people were injured, and it brought panic and fear into town. So this was something that nobody anticipated could happen, and we are very, very unhappy and disturbed by the military involvement in this and their decision to dehumanize people the way they did. We are all here enjoying the rights protected by the laws of the land, and for anybody to abuse such rights the way they did is an affront to societal norms, because our democracy prevails and ensures that we are all free to walk about, do our work, normal work, not be beaten by anybody, no matter what the offense is.
Rashid Palpo is WA Central MP. Apologies for the earlier mix-up. We'll be hearing more on the DRA incident. But a security analyst, Emmanuel Bombande, regrets that the military often gets away with impunity. He demanded that the public is made aware of the outcome of every internal investigation concerning officers who've misbehaved and the kind of sanctions meted out to them also made public. He spoke earlier on the AM show.
They get away with impunity, and so they will continue to be indisciplined and unprofessional, as we saw them beating people in the Upper West regional capital, WA. I say this because when Ghanaians were horrified to see the military shoot on civilians in Techiman South, the military said they were going to investigate and deal with the circumstances that led to the killing of innocent, or let me put it, Ghanaians who were agitating around issues related to elections. What happened to their own actions of internal investigations? And so one would immediately concede that whatever they decide to do, the public has the right to know the internal disciplinary measures they will take. And not just to say it is going to be internal and they have taken actions against the perpetrators of these abuses and it ends there. Ghanaians would have a right to know what exactly happened.
Still on this issue, the minority in Parliament is demanding a probe into the assault of the residents of WA. Minority Leader Haruna Idris says the act of impunity by the military is undermining public confidence in the Ghana Armed Forces. Minority MPs on the floor are in red armbands protesting the attacks. Well, what we know now is that there is a delegation from the military high command in the Upper West regional capital, WA, and they are meeting the WA now, trying to investigate this incident. We've got our parliamentary correspondent, Joseph Opoku-Gappo, on the line with us. Hello, Joseph. I can imagine the scene in Parliament with these minority MPs clad in red armbands. But tell us, beyond what the minority leader said, what else has been discussed?
So, his suggestion for a probe by Parliament Committee on Defence and Interior got the support of the majority side, particularly Asante Mensah, who is the majority leader, who said that this is something that got his attention just this morning. But he thinks it's something that has to do with the general impunity in the country, which is very much getting out of hand. The Defence Minister, Dominic Neat, who was on the floor, he also explained that this has come to his attention. He assured that the military folks involved will be disciplined going forward, and that no one will be shielded, and that a high-powered military and national security delegation is in WA to go ensure that they calm to a certain extent. And he assured that the individuals who got injured, they've been identified, and that they will be supported with their medical treatment and all. First Deputy Speaker George Ewusu, who presided over sitting, has directed that the Defence and Interior Committee makes a trip to WA to probe this particular matter and return to the floor within 4 weeks with a report so the House can decide on the way forward as far as this specific act of military brutality is concerned.
So, Joseph, is the indication that within this 4 weeks there will be no other committee set up to, look into this matter?
So it was something that the Defence Minister, Dominic Neat, was drawing the House's attention to, that he didn't have a problem with a parliamentary probe, but he wanted the members of Parliament to be aware that the military itself is investigating this matter in order to then take action against the individuals involved. And so Parliament's decision is that they are instituting a parallel probe that is not mutually exclusive to any kind of investigation that will be done by whether the military or the national security or the police themselves into this particular issue, and that all other such investigations can go ahead and run concurrently.
Joseph Opoku-Gappo there joining us from Parliament. And beyond that, Joseph, we know that the Vice President is also at Jura. The Interior Minister was there. Did that issue come up?
Today, no. The concerns having to do with Jura came up on the floor of the House 2 days ago, and the MPs deliberated on that extensively and indicated that they found it very much out of place, except that there was no such directive of a probe into that particular incident. But MPs who commented on this incident having to do with the brutality in Wa drew attention to what happened in Nigeria and drew the linkage and said it's just a case of those several acts of impunity that are being perpetuated by the military across the country, which needs to stop.
Thank you very much, Joseph Opoku-Gakpo, joining us from Parliament with details of what the discussion has been today on the incident which occurred in Wa yesterday. Now let's move on to some other stories. 3 suspects arrested in connection with the murder of a social activist in Idra are making their maiden appearance at the Asokwa District Court in Kumasi. Isaka Ibrahim, also known as Anyas, Hussein Al-Hassan and Ibrahim Mohammed are expected to answer on the charges of the murder of Ibrahim Mohammed, aka Kakao Macho, who died after some unknown assailants assaulted him in Idra in the Ashanti region. He died from head injuries 3 days after being admitted at the Okonfonoche Teaching Hospital. Kaka's death angered the youth of Idra who went on a protest in that community. Combined police military team deployed to maintain peace and order allegedly shot 2 more people dead, with 4 others sustaining gunshot wounds. Government has since appointed a 3-member committee to probe the deaths and disturbances in Idra. Meanwhile, Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and the Chief Imam are in Idra right now, together with some other government officials, and they are commiserating with the family of the bereaved. We also understand that some donations have been made for the construction of a divisional police headquarters or office in that community. We'll be following up on this keenly and bring you the very latest on this particular story from Idra. Well, let's head to the courts now, and Ohiming Teria joins us with the very latest with regards to the 3 suspects who have appeared for their involvement in the death of Ibrahim Kaka. Hello, Ohiming, what happened in court today? Hello, Ohiming? Well, it appears that Ohiming is struggling to hear me. But what we understand is that the 3 suspects have appeared before the Asokwa Circuit Court today. And Ohiming Teria was there for us, and he'll be bringing us details in a moment. Hello, Ohiming.
Benny, I can hear you now.
Great. Please tell us what happened in court today.
Yes, just a few minutes ago, the suspects have been called into the dock, and they are appearing before the Asokwa District Court to answer cases on their involvement in the death of Ibrahim Mohammed, also known as Kaka Macho. As we speak, the prosecutor, Chief Superintendent Kofi Blagoji, is on his feet and is about to give details of the case to the court. So they just started with the court proceedings.
So, Ohiming, yesterday we heard from the wife of Kaka, who was actually asking the police to release the brother of Kaka, who was picked up in connection with the murder. Is he part of those who appeared in court today?
Yes, according to the information that I have seen, the 3 people or 3 suspects are in court. Isaka Ibrahim, also known as Anyas, Hussein Alasa, and Ibrahim Mohammed. Apart from Hussein Alasa and Ibrahim Mohammed, who are not related to the late Kaka Macho, we are told Anyas, also known as Isaka Ibrahim, is actually a relative of the deceased. So I must say, yes, all the 3 suspects who were picked up by police are those who are appearing in court today.
All right, Ohiming Teria, they're giving us details of suspects who've been picked in connection with the killing of Kaka Ibrahim, which event triggered the protest which led to the killing of 2 others in Idra. Thank you for staying here and joining us today with me, Bernice Abubeidulan. So we've got more for you right after these messages. Do stay. Thank you for staying here on Joy News today with me, Bernice Abubeidulan. So let's bring you some updates of stories developing this afternoon. The Vice President and Chief Imam are at Ijura, commiserating with families of those who lost their lives in the protest after the burial of social activist Ibrahim Mohammed alias Kaka. My colleague Nanaya Jima is there for us, and he joins us live with more on this. Hello, Nanayao. We know that the Vice President has been traveling with a delegation. We know the Interior Minister, I beg your pardon, the National Security Minister is part of that delegation. Tell us what the Vice President has been saying as he visited families of the deceased.
So far, the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bamia, have been to the home of some of the affected persons. Now, he first visited Mohammed Muntala. He's the first person to have the Vice President in the home of the family. And also Nasiru, now the Vice President, is in the home of Nasiru. And the Vice President, speaking to the people, is telling them to trust in the 3-member committee that have been set up by the government to investigate the matter. And he's also saying that he believes that the committee will do a very diligent job and come out with findings that will bring justice or serve justice to other parties involved.
Nanaya, the Chief Imam is traveling with the Vice President. Tell us why his presence at Ijura is important and what he's been saying.
So Ijura, if I can't describe it, is an area with a lot of people in the Islamic religion living in here, and also the affected persons are Muslims. So the belief is that if the Chief Imam is here to meet the people and commiserate with them and also speak to the people, there will be some calm in the area. According to the spokesperson of the Chief Imam, the Chief of Ijra, who is also head of protocol at the office of the Vice President, is a good friend of the Chief Imam. So when the incident happened, the Chief Imam called the Chief of Ijra to commiserate with them, and also he believes that it would be prudent that he visit them, speak to the people, and help calm tempers in the area. So according to the Chief Imam's spokesperson, the Chief Imam would want the people to stay calm and hold on as the committee that's been set up by government do some investigations and try to unravel the incidents that happened here that led to the shooting in Ijra.
And Nanaya, there's also been some donation for the building of a divisional police office. Tell us more about that.
So this is after the Chief of Ijra, Nana Oseshide II, made a request to the Vice President. Yesterday, he also spoke about it with Mr. Ambrose Derry, who is the Minister for Interior. According to the Chief, he believes it's about time Ijra gets a divisional headquarters. So himself and other members of the Traditional Council have commenced the construction of this divisional headquarters to help get police presence in here and ensure that there is always calm in the area. Because according to him, whenever there is an election, there's a tendency for chaos to erupt from the area. So with the divisional police headquarters, the place will be calm with the presence of the police in the area. So what he requested is that if the Vice President and an entourage are here, it will be prudent for them to help them in the construction of this project. So the Vice President donated 1,000 bags of cement, and also he added an amount of 50,000 cedis to it. And also the Chief Imam, and the office of the Chief Imam also made a donation of 2,000 cedis and promised to add some bags of cement, 100 bags of cement to the donation.
Nanaya Ujima there joining us from Ijura with updates of the Vice President and Chief Imam's visit to the community. Let's stay a while on this issue. The ranking member on Parliament's Defence and Interior Committee, James Agalga, is predicting the work of the three-member committee constituted by the Interior Minister to probe the killing of people in Nigeria will amount to nothing. He says the committee does not have any powers to compel any organization or individual to give evidence before it.
To do this within the space of 10 days. So these are some of the reasons why we kicked against the setting up of a ministerial committee. Be that as it may, I have seen the names that have been announced by the Minister for the Interior, Dr. Vladimir Nchudanso, a good friend of mine, an excellent academic. He is currently director in charge of academic affairs at the GAFC. I mean, he's a nice intellectual. I have no doubt about his integrity. Then we have Justice Kumsin. Justice Kumsin is the Justice of the Court of Appeal. I've appeared before him before in my private practice. Good judge. The third person I don't know too well, but the composition of the committee is all right, but they are going to have to work within the limitations that I have alluded to, that the committee itself lacks any statutory authority to act. It's very limited. In fact, the scope of power of that committee is not spelled out in any law or regulation. So they're going to rely extensively on terms of reference, and the procedure they even adapt clearly is not going to have any legal backing. The ability of the committee to compel witnesses to attend upon it would not be subject to punishment should a witness decide that, look, I'm not going to turn up. The power to produce, to make orders for the production of documents clearly would only happen if those ordered to produce the documents are willing to do so. So these are limitations that clearly would hamper the work of the ministerial committee. Now, if you compare that to a commission of inquiry, a commission of inquiry is a creature of the Constitution. Its scope of authority and power is spelled out in the Constitution itself. So they have the power of a high court when they are sitting and exercising, its functions.
Now, families of the two persons killed during the Idra protests are unhappy about the constitution of the Interior Ministers Committee tasked to investigate the incident. They've been expressing their concerns to Joy News.
I don't know the type of committee they have formed, but to me, I think there are several things that has been passed for the past, and then they were not able to prove any evidence of justice, like the death of Ahmed Saleh. Up to now, no any justice for the journalist who was informing, educating, helping the government to fight against corruption, as you are doing. Up to now, nothing is done.
So what are your fears?
My fears is that if it's the same people they choose as the community, the inquiring community, I'm not in agreement with that. I want them to take the problem to the parliament. The parliamentarians should choose a commission for inquiry that will inquire, or they call international community to come and inquire and then investigate this case. Those people who came in, they were policemen, army men, full armed with army uniform. Who sent them? It's the minister. Do you think this minister will defend us and leave them? He's their people.
Does that mean a rejection of the committee that has been set up?
I don't know the type of committee that has been set, but to my opinion, if they want justice and they want truth to reveal, they have to call international community, or they take it to the parliament, and then the parliament will choose a commission to inquire and then investigate the case.
Nanka, the Abemaya Nigeria be pay and say, committee now Martino, say, omit me Ediomania to form. Now, Omayo Mushimu, Nano Creno Abedaho, no Creno Sudawa, or Moma Yu who said no Creno, any Senya Beya Yanso Busiano, Yakuma Abetoyam. Tiania just say, Omampenia to Sanamono.
While the Interior Minister, Ambrose Derry, has been assuring the families that their concerns have been noted.
Well, what is the basis for that? Because you have a judge of the Court of Appeal. You have Vladimir Anchodanso, who is known in this country as one of the best security experts. And you have this lady who is in there, who is CSO. There's no police there. There's no military there. So why should anybody feel afraid? Go before them and talk. And we would protect anybody who goes there to say anything. And in the end, we want the justice.
Can you confirm that the third person who has been arrested is also related to Kaka?
Well, you saw Kaka's mother. And when we got to the house, they said that the woman has 3 children. One is dead, which is Kaka. One has been arrested. And the third one is taken ill, which they believe is connected to the fact that the Kaka's brother has been arrested. So they are confirming that. What will give you assurance is that we are going to find who killed Kaka. And that one, there's no compromise. If the brother didn't kill Kaka, I'm sure you go free. Yeah. But if you kill Kaka, the law will take its course.
Let's do some other stories now here on Joy News. Today, one of Ghana's key maths icons, Professor Enyenamsi Tofayanku, will be laid to rest tomorrow, Saturday, July 3. The funeral ceremony will be held at the ICGC Calvary Temple at Sakumono at 7 a.m. Until his death, Professor Anku held the strong belief that a key to solving Ghana's problem is mathematics. To achieve this, he spent a greater part of his teaching life encouraging both students and teachers to love maths and demystify the phobia for the subject. In the following report, we here at Joy News celebrate Professor Anku for what he stood for.
There are too many people failing mathematics because they don't understand the principles and methods of mathematics. And they think it's difficult. It's not difficult. It's very, very easy.
He spoke mathematics.
You see, suppose I want to teach my students a parallelogram. How do I say that in my language? I don't know.
How do you say that in Chi or
I don't know.
in Ewe?
Do you know how to say? Do you know?
He lived mathematics. His world was mathematics. And
mathematics is life. So we keep saying everything you do contains mathematics. And I want to challenge you before we leave. Give me any area of life that you think there's no mathematics, and I'll show you the mathematics in there.
Prof. Sanku was convinced that maths is a major key to unlocking Ghana's development. His focus was not just the students, but teachers and all and sundry. He was very outspoken, direct, and unbending in his argument as far as maths was concerned.
How come that we build houses 3-story, 4-story, 5-story? When we try hard 6-story, it collapses and killing people in Ghana. 6-story, it collapses and kills people. But you go elsewhere, you go and find 162-story building standing. 162, 300, 200, 100, 120, 110, 120, 130, 140, 150, 160. And add 2 is standing. In Ghana, 3, 4, 5, brrr, 3, 4, 5, brrr, 3, 4, 5, brrr, killing people every time. Why? It is all because of very simple mathematics knowledge that they are not applying. Very simple mathematics knowledge of ratio. Do you calculate the weight of what is going to go to 2nd floor, 3rd floor, 4th floor? Do you calculate it? Look at America, what happened? They're putting the heavy things up. The American disaster. The heavy things were going up. So the structures couldn't carry. So the thing collapsed and killed people. And when they killed people, somebody used the finger, to go and scratch the wall. And was able to use the finger to scratch the wall. Because the ratio of cement to sand to water was not correct.
He won't buy into the cliche that students don't like maths because it is a difficult subject. For him, it is the teachers who are the problem and must be fixed. He believed that the manner in which the subject is introduced to students and taught in schools were problematic. Correcting the problem must start with the teachers.
Yes, we've trained over 800 teachers from the 10 regions of Ghana here. And when they come, I interview them, I give them tests and I see the way they respond. I ask myself, are these the teachers of mathematics? If they are the teachers of mathematics, then what are they teaching the students? You see, a lot of them don't understand the mathematics. They don't know how to teach the mathematics for understanding, let alone relate to real life situations for the students to appreciate, you know, the importance of what they are studying.
School children were not left out of his special attention for maths education. The Megasa Academy Maths Camp was a solution center for school children both at the basic and secondary levels during school vacations who had challenges in mathematics. Amid all of these events, the objective stood constant for Prof. Sanku, thus demystifying mathematics to enable students develop love and discard the phobia surrounding the subject. A number of his students have been successful under his leadership.
We are going to form a team in our district so that we'll be teaching or impacting the knowledge on children on cluster basis so that every child in the district will be transformed.
If you are that kind of teacher who maybe like shouting at students or you like making certain comments, you are full, you can't even make it, those kind of things, you make students fear the subject because already there is that notion that mathematics is difficult.
The 2 weeks here at Joy News, he was our first port of call anytime we needed experts in maths. He was a regular guest despite his mobility challenges. Beyond the hard issues, it was fun having him in studio.
Is there mathematics in love?
Plenty of it.
How? How
you ask a very, very big question. You know, when I come here all the time, I keep talking that people say mathematics is blind. Love is blind, blah, blah. They say all of those things. You know, we have a National Mathematics Day. I presented a lot from here. And that is on the 14th of February every year. We people must show love to mathematics. You know, 14th February is Valentine's Day. People go to celebrate whatever. We say for that day, don't waste your time, go and show love to mathematics. Because there is a very big connection. Mathematics love is not blind. It's a choice you make. Deliberate choice you make.
That's what mathematics says about love?
Yeah. Mathematics is action to solve problems. You see?
So how do you bring that into love? Like, I mean, I find Paul here and I'm in love with Paul. How is there maths in that?
It's a choice you make. Out of several Pauls, there's Paul, there's Citrope, there's somebody else. You're going to choose one. You're going to make a choice.
So that's math?
There's a secret. Yeah, it's mathematics. Making choice is mathematics.
Okay.
You see, you have options. So what makes you make a particular choice? You have got some criteria. The criteria must be very clear. I'm not choosing you because you are tall, black, beautiful. What is it? You must be conscious of these things.
So you do some calculations and you remove some. You remove some. I've forgotten the mathematical expression for that.
Come to the academy, we teach you more mathematics. Come to the academy, we teach you more mathematics.
So you do the calculation.
We say may his soul rest in perfect peace, and most importantly, may his legacy live on. You're watching Joy News today with me, Bernice Abubedulansa. Coming up shortly in business, the Ghana Enterprises Agency has begun engagement with stakeholders on how the 145 million cedi grant for SMEs to support their post-COVID-19 relief or revival will be dispersed. We've got details right after this.
Hi there, good afternoon. Welcome to Business. My name is Darryl Kwao. The Ghana Enterprises Agency has begun engagement with stakeholders on how the 145 million cedi grant for SMEs to support their post-COVID-19 recovery will be disbursed. This follows the opening of applications for the program by the agency and the Ministry of Tourism for operators in the creative arts industry. Chief Executive Kosi Yanki-Ayi has been speaking to Joy Business on the disbursement process in the following report.
The new 145 million cedi grant launched by President Akufo-Addo is targeted specifically at the small and medium enterprises that were affected by the impact of COVID-19 pandemic. As part of the processes to disburse the fund, the Ghana Enterprises Agency has been engaging business associations and some SMEs on the grant program. According to Chief Executive Kosi Yanke Aye, the fund will be used to take care of SMEs, the tourism sector.
There are two segments. The tourism is also part of the business of the fund that NBSSI is implementing. So we will be implementing the tourism fund as well under the Ministry of Tourism. We are under the Ministry of Trade, though, but we will be. So if you realize the application process is through the Ghana Enterprises Agency platform. So under the tourism fund, we'll be looking at businesses in the tourism sector who need access to funding support. As you are aware, the tourism sector has been highly impacted, as the minister said. And so at a time like that, there's funding that has been earmarked specifically for the tourism sector to support them also build the businesses or sustain the businesses at a time as this.
Mrs. Aye has been explaining the general criteria for accessing the fund as the application process opened this week.
Is that you have to have a business with employees from 6 to 100. So it ranges from 6 to 100. So you have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way up to 100. You also have businesses that have been impacted by COVID, those who are into manufacturing, agro-processing, cosmetics, fashion and designing, those who do the face masks, healthcare, PPEs, all those businesses can apply, but you need to be an SME.
The fund is expected to boost production for beneficiary firms that have been affected by the COVID-19.
Now, Anglo Gold Ashanti Obuasi Mine has rolled out its maiden mini clinic initiative to support the health needs of residents of Benseri in the Ashanti region. The initiative is to promote frequent health screening in rural communities amidst concerns of possible spike in COVID-19 cases. There's more in this report.
500 residents of Benseri in the Obuasi municipality have benefited from Anglo Gold Ashanti's mini clinic initiative. Anglo Gold Ashanti, in collaboration with AGA Health Foundation and the Obuasi Municipal Health Directorate, is opening a new frontier of bringing quality health care to residents in Obuasi. Dr. Justin Sona Dakora is Principal Medical Officer, Occupational Health.
Today's exercise is following many years, or say 2 years of assessments that were done in the community towards the redevelopment of the AG mine. Now, as part of the mine's redevelopment, they made a commitment that there's no way you can have a healthy workforce in a healthy workplace without having a healthy community.
Drugs were given to residents who benefited from free treatment in addition to counseling on healthy lifestyles. The company assured the free screening will be an annual event to assist rural communities in the country.
We've also had discussions with almost all the health facilities in Obuasi to follow up when we do send a referral, so as to make this not just a one-day event, but an event that follows all the way to the consulting rooms in all the health facilities we find in and around Obuasi. And we believe that this will be a long-lasting, or will leave a long-lasting image of Anglo Gold Ashanti, Ghana, AG Health Foundation, and then the Ghana Health Service in and around Obuasi.
District Director of Health, Obuasi East, Delphine Gboglovo, advised residents to desist from self-medication.
You might be having a headache, and you might think that going to the drugstore and getting pain medications could make the headache go. Probably it's not just an ordinary headache, or sometimes it's just some psychological counseling that you need. So it is always better to go for thorough examination to be done for you before you go getting drugs. It is always not right to just walk into a pharmacy shop and get any drugs.
Some of the residents lauded the company for the initiative. Anita Selwa Ajugan reporting.
More business news on our website, myjournalline.com/business. Up next, sports. Don't go anywhere.
Now let's do some local stories. And this weekend there will be Ghana Premier League football, where Black Stars left back Bauraman wants Hearts of Oak to drop points in the last 3 matches of the ongoing Ghana Premier League season, as he wants his former club Asante Kotoko to close the gap and probably win the league title. The Porcupines are 3 points below their close title contenders Hearts of Oak, but a win for them later this weekend will mean that they will extend their lead at the summit of the Premier League table, and Bauraman wants them to drop points against Ebusua Dwarfs. And Kotoko should also pick all maximum points against King Faisal later this weekend.
I think this is one of the best leagues I've watched, not even when I was playing. I've watched maybe since the last 10 years, 10, 15 years. And it's really exciting to see the big giants like going for it.
Can you imagine? I mean, as we speak right now, at the time of airing the interview, Hearts of Oak have just beaten Asante Kotoko in the Super Clash to go ahead in the title race. Did you watch the match?
I watched it, and unfortunately my team lost, but I think we are still in contention. We have 4 games, more or less, to go, so a little slip from House of Oak, and then we are back on top again.
How do you feel watching them? I mean, how far they've come and everything?
When I watched the game over the weekend, it was really great because I saw a lot of intensity, a lot of passion, and the guys really tried to go for it. And I think House of Oak really started with a bit of urgency, and I think it helped them throughout the game. So it's really great to see the Ghana Premier League like progressing in such way.
And that is Bauraman over there. It was an extensive interview. When you head on to myjoyonline.com, you read excerpts of that interview. Tonight, we have a big game for you. It's Belgium versus Italy as we continue our coverage of the Euro 2020. That game will be live on Joy Prime. We'll go live at 6 p.m. I am Muftau Nabila Ablai, and this has been Sports on Joy News today.
We appreciate it so much. There's more news when you log on to myjoyonline.com. Do stay with us. Daryl Kwao is coming back with more business on the marketplace right after this. Enjoy the rest of your day. Good afternoon.